Wet bees are dead bees. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, welcome to day 4 of the beekeeping tips of the day. Today I originally just wanted to talk about managing the entrance of the all-season inner cover by honey run apiaries. But we're going to go a little different direction with this because this piece of hardware in your hives can literally save the colony. The first couple years I was keeping bees, I had moisture issues. Wet bees are dead bees. If condensation from inside the top of the hive drips down on your bees, they will freeze to death and they will die. When I put this inner cover, is this all-season inner cover in, it was game-changing. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of what that inner cover looks like, but I also want to talk to you about how we're managing the entrance on that. Okay, if you look right here, I'm on the Honey Run Apiaries website, and you can see the all-season inner cover 10-frame. They've got an 8-frame option as well. Now, if you look over here on the left, this is where the entrance is, and I'm going to put a separate picture up and we can look at that at the same time. But this is an upper entrance. I keep this closed about 9 months, 10 months out of the year. I will open it up in about April. I'll leave it open until about June, and then that's it. It stays closed the rest of the time because that's just another point of entry for things that want to do bad stuff to your bees. And it's just one less thing to worry about. Now, I will tell you, if you staple it closed like I do, you have to pop the staples off, take that piece off, do your inspection, and staple them back on when you're done, but it doesn't take long. Now, if you look right here, this is what it looks like without the insulation in the middle. So what we have is 3 holes in the front with hardware cloth in the back for ventilation. You see here we've got 4 on each side, and there's this hole here in the middle. The hole in the middle, when they send it to you, it's going to come with a piece of hardware cloth to cover this hole. I recommend that you cover that. Generally, the bees are going to stay down below, they're going to draw comb, and they're going to do all the stuff that they regularly do. But if they run out of space, they will come up into here and they'll try to start drawing comb in here, and you don't want that to happen. So put that hardware cloth right across this whole space right in here, and that'll keep them from using that for comb and for trying to do anything else in that area. Now, in the wintertime, what you'll do is you're already going to have your hardware cloth there. And it's funny because the bees, if they don't like the airflow for whatever reason, they will propolize that hardware cloth all over to kind of reduce the airflow. It's kind of cool the way they do it. But going into the wintertime, you have this foam that goes in. And you see you have the whole outer foam, and then there's the inner section here that you can pop out. So if you want a little extra ventilation, you can pop this center section out and leave that out and just have the air coming up and have that insulation. I leave the whole thing together all winter long, and it works great. This foam absorbs that moisture. Now, if you're not familiar with this and you're like, Jeff, I don't really know what you're talking about. What is this moisture? You have winter conditions where it's anywhere between negative whatever and maybe 20 or 30 degrees all winter long outside. You have this cluster of bees that's maintaining a temperature inside the cluster around 95, 96 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't have the Celsius numbers. I'm sorry. I think it's probably 27, 29, 30, something like that. It's going to create warmer air that's going to move up. Well, that warmer air moving up, it's going to hit against the hive body. The sides of the hive body are cool from the outside cold air. So the cooler air meeting the warmer air is going to create some condensation. A lot of times what happens, and this is a kind of a separate tip of the day, I'm not going to give it away yet, but when that condensation is on the top, if it's allowed to drip down on the bees get wet and they'll die. They're much more susceptible to the cold conditions if they get wet. Their ability to regulate and maintain their temperature when they're wet is destroyed. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to live. So this foam will allow some of it to kind of get insulated. Now, if you don't have this there, it's really important to kind of have a nice tilt to your hive with the idea that the moisture rises, forms against the roof, like your inner cover, and then it might roll kind of towards the front and drip down at the front and hopefully kind of go out the front of the entrance. That's a separate discussion. But I am telling you, a couple of years in, I was probably 3 years in, something like that. I had lost a couple of hives where I opened it up and there was just water and stuff everywhere. The first year I started using these, I have never lost a colony using these. Now, there's a big asterisk on that, right? I'm treating for varroa. I'm doing everything else that I need to do as a beekeeper. And then, they've got plenty of food stores. I'm doing all the right things I need to do. And with this, they are surviving. This to me is something that my hives just don't go without. Now, I don't have it in every hive, and I have hives that are successful without it because I've learned from years of trial and error and doing stupid stuff what works and what doesn't work. But to me, this is just one of the best things you could possibly put into your beehive. Now, going back to this entrance here, if you're in a really cool climate and you're in a place where you wrap your hives in the wintertime, a lot of people will wrap them with roofing paper or some other things. If you want to do that, and that's great, you do what you got to do. I don't have experience in that space because I don't live there, so I can't speak to it. But you want to make sure that at a minimum, you're keeping an entrance open so they can leave for cleansing flights, they can get fresh air and all of that. So a lot of times people will go ahead and wrap everything up down low, close that lower entrance, and use this upper entrance for the bees. So I think that's great as an alternative to the bottom entrance, particularly, you don't want to have to go outside necessarily and move a bunch of snow out of the way from that bottom entrance so that they can still get in and out. Your hives may be remote. You might not be able to get to them, and you don't want them getting stuck in and no ability to get out or no air coming in or out. So, folks, that's all I got for you on today's tip of the day around this all-season inner cover. There'll be a link to it down in the description. If you have any questions, drop me an email, jeff@beekeepingfornewbies.com. It's NEWBEES.com. If you wouldn't mind, just real gently tap that like button for me, and if you consider subscribing, I would greatly appreciate that as I bump into the mic here. And don't forget that I love you. There's nothing you can do about it. We'll talk to you soon.